There is one achievement in Final Fantasy XIV that's broken more players than anything else in this game, and it's for a very good reason. I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV on and off for over 12 years, ever since its re-release back in 2013, and I always took the casual approach. Played the expansions, I did some dungeons with friends, but I never really took on a true challenge, and that's about to change. I want to challenge myself to unlock every single achievement this game has to offer, starting with the trophies on the PlayStation console to unlock that elusive Platinum trophy. So, join me on my journey from a casual player to a well-seasoned veteran. Welcome to episode 2 of the Chronicles of Yami. In the first episode, I set up the foundation. I created my account called Platinum Trophy and started as a gladiator, finally unlocking the job Paladin. I dabbled in crafting, I tried some gathering, and unlocked the first few trophies of Final Fantasy XIV. And now we step into episode 2. In the first episode, I told you that my plan is to split up the 100% journey into 5 different phases. And I said that the first phase will come. And to start phase 1, we have to unlock the achievement called Before the Fall Part 2. And this achievement has broken more players than any raid or dungeon ever could. And this achievement isn't just like a hard boss. No, it's a wall made of quests. Hundreds of them.
That's it. Screw this game.
Before you even touch Before the Fall, the game has a cruel initiation ritual. You have to beat the base game called A Realm Reborn, and not just the main story. Oh no. You also have to chew through every patch quest from 2.1 to 2.55. That's over 200 quests, give or take, depending on how many times you get distracted by a random fate. That reminds me, I actually got a trophy for completing 100 fates on my road to 10,000, which is only 1%. Oh my god, I'm gonna be stuck in this game. But before all of that patch content, there's the base story. And in A Realm Reborn, the story is like a treadmill built by Square Enix interns. You keep running, but you're not really sure why. So to tell you what I did to unlock the first trophy called A Realm Reborn and Warrior of Light, let me tell you a little bit more about dungeons and trials. When you play Final Fantasy XIV, when you get around level 15, the game will throw you into your very first dungeon. And if you've never played any MMORPG, let me tell you how it works. A dungeon in Final Fantasy XIV is a small instance area for a group of 4 players. A tank, a healer, and 2 DPS, short for damage dealers. Each of these players has a job. The tank has to hold aggro or attention and gets punched in the face so others don't. The healer prevents the tank from being part of the floor, and the DPS hits the enemies as hard as possible and pretends they're helping with mechanics. Unless you're a tank or a healer, the queue times can be quite long, especially where you're DPS. You can even finish a Netflix episode, and then hopefully, it pops. But almost every dungeon in A Realm Reborn is part of the story. You simply can't skip them. You need to clear places like Satasha. Oh my god, the first dungeon's gonna take me. Tantara Deepcroft, Copperbell Mines, or even Aram Vale. Cute names. Horrible dungeons. And then eventually the game will ramp them up. The dungeons will get longer, the bosses get meaner, and the mechanics start whispering, Did you watch a video about this dungeon? Because if you don't, you're probably gonna die, But fast forwarding a couple hours, a couple days into my playthrough, I was expecting the first big trial, Cape Westwind. And a trial is a little bit different than a dungeon, because in a trial, you're gonna queue up with 8 different players. 2 tanks, 2 healers, and 4 DPSs. So the moment I thought I was gonna queue up for Cape Westwind, I was without any players. I was alone, just fighting him. And apparently in patch 6.1, they changed Cape Westwind, which was apparently the biggest community meme ever. They changed it into a single instance fight for your story. Literally just you versus the boss, which I think was kind of a bummer because I really liked that fight back in the day, but it is what it is. But beating this guy is basically the first step into completing A Realm Reborn, because after beating him, you will unlock the first 2 big dungeons called Castrum and Praetorium. And oh boy, these 2 are some true A Realm Reborn endurance tests. Praetorium was legendary, and not in a good way. I have 2 words for you: cutscenes everywhere. You'd watch a 10-minute cinematic, move 20 feet, kill a couple enemies, and then another cutscene pops. And this is why people decided not to queue up for castrum or praetorium to help out new players. Or new players would miss out the fight because people wouldn't wait for them to finish the cutscenes and eventually just ruining the entire experience. So Square Enix decided to rework the both dungeons. So in 2022, both these dungeons were actually 8-player instances and they became 4-player duties with the ability to also play it with NPCs, allowing you to play it solo as well. So what you're seeing is that Square Enix is sort of slowly go through momentum where they trying to become more tighter, more focused, and more paced with their stories. And I think this is what they should have done, well, over a decade ago. And eventually, after beating Castrum and Praetorium, we are left with the final boss of A Realm Reborn, which is Ultima. And I remember back in the day, the Ultima was a very big wall by itself. Some mechanics that we weren't used to, our gear wasn't up to par, so we would die a lot. But eventually by beating it, I unlocked 2 achievements, granting me the trophies A Realm Reborn for the PS5 version and Warrior of Light for the PS4 version. And now the game told me to do 200 more quests. And this is where the wall of quests truly begins. As I mentioned before, you have to go through every single patch 2.1 all the way through 2.55. But if you do this, you unlock a couple different achievements, like Through the Maelstrom, The Vendors of Eorzea, Dreams of Ice, and of course Before the Fall Part 1 and 2. And all of these patches will drop new story quests, new dungeons, new trials, and something else called Alliance Raids. And during these patches, you can see the development of Final Fantasy XIV, where back in the day, you had to fight this big ass Moogle, which you still have to do, but half the community rage quit because nobody knew what the heck they were doing. Basically, many people were wiping, were stuck at the same boss for 40 minutes, or somehow there was this one guy explaining us what to do, and somehow miraculously we made it. We also get introduced to the sea serpent called Leviathan, where you fight him while you're stuck on a little piece of wood. Or we get introduced to Ramu, the old man lightning god, where basically don't stare near electronic orbs or you'll die. And one of my favorite fights, Odin and Shiva, where Odin, I feel like, was one of the more badass fights with his amazing attacks, and I think the music and the stage was really well put together. As I mentioned, to get the trophy Dreams of Ice, well, you have to fight Shiva, where the moment the second half of the fight starts, that music, bro, is insane. And we like to get stepped on by Shiva, which is probably the most iconic thing about this fight. If you're new to the game and if you have no experiences with MMORPGs, each of these trials has a wall of its own. They're learning you new dodging mechanics or new type of things you haven't seen before in the game so far. And when you think you're done with all of this, the game throws something else at you. Alliance Raids. 24 players, 3 groups of 8, and 1 giant chaotic mess of lasers, AoE attacks, and people running in every direction except the correct one. Here's how it works. You have group A, B, and C. And each group consists of 1 tank, 2 healers, and 5 damage dealers. And with every raid, every group has its own specific mechanic they should handle. Basically the holy trinity of, well, not the god, but teamwork, panic, and betrayal. Because if one group decides to not do their job, the other group can die and eventually will lead to a wipe. And the A Realm Reborn Alliance raids make up for something called the Crystal Tower series, where you have to complete 3 different raids called Labyrinth of the Ancients, the Circus Tower, and World of Darkness. And as we continue to progress into Final Fantasy XIV, we'll get to see that every expansion has 3 different Alliance raids we get to unlock and complete. Not only that, but by doing everything I just mentioned, completing all the trials, all those extra dungeons, and of course, we unlock a whole set of trophies. Also, along the way of completing Before the Fall Part 2, I managed to get my crafters and gatherers to level 50 thanks to the daily turn-in missions, and of course our main class gladiator / paladin making it to level 50. I know that these trophies or achievements aren't that impressive. It helps set up the story of my journey to obtain every single achievement and trophy in Final Fantasy XIV. And when you finally reach Before the Fall Part 2, it is something that you build up to if you care for the story. And if not, well, I don't know, let's move on. So looking back at Before the Fall Part 2, especially doing this for my second time, it felt like test of willpower disguised as, I think, a story update. Like, this achievement didn't broke players because it was hard, but it's because it was asked for time, hours of it, days, weeks, maybe even months. By the time Heavensward begins, you're not just a random player logging into the game. You know, you've earned the title of Warrior of Light. And especially when, you know, you have your responsibilities like work, family, kids, maybe other stuff, you know, taking care of someone. So I feel like this is a very hard obstacle, a very big wall to climb if you have all those responsibilities. But when you eventually make it to the top of that wall and climb over to the other side, called Heavensward, it's absolutely 100% worth it. So yeah, maybe Before the Fall Part 2 broke players, but I think it also turned some fetch quests into milestones. At least it did for me. Would I do all of it again? Heck no. No, just kidding. I probably will. But only if someone else, you know, does the delivery quests. And if you thought this wall was bad, wait until you see what's gonna happen in Heavensward. Click the subscribe button, join Discord, because we got dragons to slay.